welcome to Loot Level Chat, episode 16. My name's Adam Cook, and I'm your host, along with Mick Fraser and Lyle Pendle. How is everyone? All right?
Hello.
Hey, we're doing great here. All of us, always.
Everyone is just so good.
Just so good. So easy for everyone. That's
Mick's,
what we're always saying here at Loot Level Chill HQ.
Yep. But
that hot.
I was going to say, Mick's got a beverage. It looks hot because he's blowing it. Tea or coffee?
Coffee.
You could have just gone like Bob
It's
Royal
decaf,
or...
but it's coffee.
Yeah, well, there's still coffee. I think it counts, doesn't it?
I don't know anymore.
So
Here's a question for you, right? Oh God, I regret actually even saying that much because as soon as I finished it, I realised the question is stupid. But I have already said, here's a question
late now,
for you.
yeah.
Is the point of decaf coffee? I told you it was going to be stupid. Is the point of decaf coffee for people who like the taste of coffee but do not want caffeine, or is there some? Do you know what I mean? Is that what it is?
I think so. That's what I drink it for because I like coffee.
So does that mean you have it like no sugar, no milk? You're just like black decaf coffee?
No, I have. I don't have. I have lactose-free milk and sweeteners and decaf coffee. So it's basically just something that looks and tastes approximately like coffee.
The three fake versions of those things combined.
It's actually I like the taste, but I don't want the caffeine. I stopped caffeine, so I have just. But my brain and body will still want a coffee. So if I have a coffee, it tricks me.
No, I get that because like I heard a thing recently, and again, why not? I'm in for a pound, in for a penny, in for a pound. I heard this, and this might not be true, and it might equally be just as stupid. But I don't know if I know neither of you are football fans. But have you ever seen a clip of a footballer like they've gone to the side and they're like having a drink of water, and that's gonna fucking get mean, didn't it? They swallow it. They don't swallow. They squirt the water in the mouth. They sort of and then they spit it out, and it's always like, why do you spit it out? Apparently, that tricks your brain into thinking you have taken hydration on. Because obviously, if you think about it, if you were running around loads with like a belly full of water, it would be really uncomfortable. But apparently just in your mouth makes you think, your brain's tricked into believing you've had hydration.
Okay.
You're not saying it's stupid, so it must be plausible.
I didn't know it. It sounds like, why not just have a drink, I guess? But I'm not a footballer, nor do I aspire to be one.
But the reason I bring this up is because that is very much like the review situation for Mindseye, isn't it? In that it exists, but does it really exist? And if we trick our minds into... I really thought that was actually a genuinely late thought of, that's all right, that segue works.
It does sort of work, yeah.
So nobody got access. Mindseye's out now. And apparently, it's also now being refunded. I don't know. This is quite late as we. I
don't like when games are bad, right? I don't like. Nobody likes when games are bad. We want all games to be good, right? But there's something weird about this game that I can't help but think. Yeah, I thought this was going to be shit. I think everybody kind of thought it was going to be shit, which hasn't helped them because. A lot of weird stuff went on behind the scenes towards getting close to release. You know, it was we saw the gameplay trailers. They were very carefully curated gameplay trailers that actually told us fuck all about the game. Like, no, everybody was like, "Is this open world? Is it mission based? Why are there portals in it?" Well, no one actually knew what the hell was going on. They marketed it really badly, and then it turns out that it's apparently. Having not played it,
it doesn't run very well,
it's apparently a shitter. So,
box quote.
It would be if we'd played it, but you can't give a box quote.
Well, I tell you what's weird as well, though, is that all the stuff that kind of went on beforehand, where people were accusing other companies of paying to downvote
when
it.
You say people, it was the CEO, wasn't it, or somebody involved high up with the game.
He said that sort of Rockstar's got it in for him, and it's like your game's not bothering fucking GTA. Like you you used to work with them. Like
no, but the thing is, it's not just that he used to work with them. Like Benzies was like the guy they got in to ship the game. Like way back, he was the guy that was like I think there was a. Christ, a long time
was
ago.
Was there a lawsuit? Was it a lawsuit?
No, it was like bring me the Benz or something like that. They used to have a phrase where they're like, we need to ship this, get Benzies on it. And you can't put this is a game developed by a studio, not one man. It's not the sort of the SGF made by one man and 27,000 of his friends. It's not that. It's not that thing. It's like, I don't know. It's just really weird, and it's such a shame. But it doesn't.
I did want to play it though. I will
say
say that
I still do in a way.
You know, I kind of want to try it. I saw the trailers like everybody else, and I kind of thought this doesn't look like it looks like a sort of game that I'm gonna. It was one of those that I thought this is a 6 out of 10 or something. It doesn't look brilliant, but I think it's gonna. Do you know what I mean though? When you get an instinctive feel for it.
Like I, and that's why I think people got excited for it, because they were kind of looking back to like this older school sort of linear 360 era kind of third person shooter, like a Gears of War almost, where you just start it and you finish it, and then that's.
I kind of got like
that so much.
I kind of got like Saints Row reboot vibes from it though, which not in a tonal way, but just in sort of how it looked in the gameplay. And, you know, when you're shooting a guy running at you, and then you're shooting a drone, and you're cleaning out of a car shooting, and they made it look very much like it was going to be, because I presumed watching the first gameplay stuff that it was open world. It looked like an open world crime.
Is it not? I thought it was still.
No, it's apparent. I don't know, but I think I read that it's mission based. It's about 12 hours.
Yeah.
And it's got that weird everywhere technology, which is probably going to die, you know,
do you know
this
what, though,
game.
right?
But
the thing that fascinates me the absolute most about this is that you can talk about the game as much as you want. You know, the developers was debut game builder Rocket Boy. It's published by IO Interactive, which is like what's weirding me out. That's
it's not a little
remember
thing,
you
is
said
it?
to me, I don't believe this is actually a real game. But the thing for me was like, well, IOI are publishing it, so it is, because they are. It's a really weird situation, and now Sony are refunding people. Like the Cyberpunk situation when.
Yeah, that's wild.
It's happened again.
That's when you know it's a big deal, isn't it?
They've released a statement apologising and saying that I mean there was some weird stuff like with the Xbox patch. Apparently as well, like the day one patch just was not available for day one for Xbox players. It's like, that is not a good thing.
But they're not going to pull it back like CD Projekt did. Do you know what I want? You know what I mean? It's not going to happen, is it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's a weird thing.
See, the everywhere thing gives it legs in a way, because the whole concept there is that you have, as many procedurally generated or as many like studio generated missions as they can possibly come up with.
But does that matter if the core game's like not up to it?
Well, no, it doesn't. But it's like what I mean is like if they say they
go away, I think.
Say they go away and fix all the bugs. Say they spend the next, like look at No Man's Sky. Do you know what I mean? I'm not suggesting they could do that.
No.
But on a similar level, perhaps studio wise to what they were initially, and we've seen it. Like what I'm saying is we've seen games start off sort of in the doldrums and then become something better. So it's possible still, I guess. But
100%.
I think I kind of think that they're going to burn their bridges where people are concerned.
I mean, I don't want to like say anything that's like libelous, but I did read some of the statement, and it did have some of it was made me go, okay then, and you know what I mean, and that's never a good sign. But
no.
It's not impossible. I mean, look, games get delayed, and that moves us neatly into the first game of the week, a game that got delayed.
Oh, look at this smooth, silky smooth.
Mr. Segway today.
16 episodes, and I've got there.
Mr. Segway.
Mr. Segway it's like Mr. Motivator, I think of. He's like some sort of but on a Segway, yeah.
But on a Segway, obviously.
You passed it to someone else.
The game I'm talking about was delayed a few times. It is out. Mick and I have both played it. You've played it obviously to completion. I haven't. You've played on PC. I've played on PS5. We've had very different stories and experiences. That game is The Alters. At the time you hear this, I think it should be available in Game Pass on PC and Xbox. It's out. It's actually out. We've been talking about this game for what feels like forever, and you gave it a 9 out of 10, which tells me, Mick, it lived up to the hype and then some.
It did. And so, like, it's one of those where I gave it a 9 and I kind of, it so could have easily been a 10. I had some real issues on PC with some bugs in it, which I'm absolutely confident will mostly be patched out. But you can only review what you've got. And there were some great game breaky bits that made me have to go back and load old saves and things like that. It kept it off the 10 mark.
Is it worth, like, because I was going to say, because I had some that I don't think I would consider quite, well, they were game breaking in that they were progress halting, but I was able to fix them on PlayStation. Like, I had one where, and I believe that the studio, because I asked them, said that they were aware of this, and that one was like already under, and I have seen a patch, so it could be it's not in there, but like I had things where the alters, the altered versions of Jan Dulski would appear on the screen as though like they're in no node, and what that was basically saying is they weren't there. They just didn't, so I couldn't speak to them. And one of them I needed to speak to progress the story, but I couldn't. And I was like, next day, never came back. The way I fixed it was to roll back my save like 4 or 5 days, which sounds bad, but we'll get into why it's not that bad as we talk. Yeah. And that did fix it, and that happened. And I had another with a different character, and it just fixed itself. So it's possible that they're on top of that already. Yours were more. Yours were a bit more serious on PC.
And I don't think it was all down to the game. Like I do think, because I know there's been some stuff with Nvidia recently. The latest driver update has been a bit weird with some games. So it could have been that. Could be my PC. I don't know. But I did have issues, and I did kind of mainly have them with that. So it did sort of halt my progress quite a bit, and I had to keep reloading stuff, and it got a bit frustrating because you can load older saves. But the thing about the alters is it only saves. So I'll explain the story in a minute, but it only saves when Jan wakes up in the morning. It's based on day by day by day. Yeah. Every time you wake up in the morning, it saves the game. You can't save other than that. So every time it's
a new save, we should say as well. So it's like day 15,
it creates
day 16,
a new.
I don't know how many. Is it like 20 or something?
It's quite a lot, I think. Yeah. And you can lock them so it doesn't wipe over them if you want to keep progress, because there's a lot of branching paths. But it did get to the point where I'd play a whole day, and sometimes you can get a lot done in the game in a day, and I'd be doing that, and then it would crash. I'd have to do it all again, and it got a bit frustrating towards the end. And it didn't sour it for me, but I thought if other people have this experience, it's not there.
I will say it was really telling talking to you as we were both playing it, because I think if this weren't such a damn good video game, I think there are elements, and I wouldn't have blamed you at all if you'd said, I'm done with this till it's fixed. And it wasn't the case. It was like, no, I just can't stop thinking. Because that's the one thing you said to me that stuck with me. And sort of, I mean, I knew I wanted to play it anyway, but you literally said, I can't stop thinking about this fucking game. I can't stop thinking about the permutations.
So I've played a lot of survival crafting games, like a lot. Well, maybe not all of them, but I reckon it's a high percentile of survival crafting.
If you've played them all, you should be in some sort of Guinness book.
Yeah. So this is probably, without hyperbole, this might be the most interesting, because they've always got, generally the good ones have got something that makes them a bit different when it's a survival crafter.
I saw a review somewhere. I'm sorry for not being able to quote where it is. It won't be hard to find if you Google this statement, but the review said something like, the Alters takes a load of genres I actually don't like and makes a fantastic game that I can't stop loving.
Because what it does is, like I said, usually there's something unique about them. Like, so take Subnautica and things like that. It's a similar thing, right? Go get resources, craft new stuff, build new stuff. Ultimately, like in Subnautica, you're trying to escape somewhere. But it does it in such a unique and really an interesting way. So, big backstory, just for people who don't know what's going on, because I didn't know an awful lot about it before I started playing. You play a character called Jan Dulski, who is a kind of like a construction worker. He's a builder. He's part of a team of researchers and scientists and explorers who have gone to this alien planet. His job is to build the mobile base. They have a big mobile base. So the idea is that they land on the planet in the ship becomes their mobile base. And then Jan is responsible for fabricating and building the modules that they're going to need to survive, whatever they need. The idea is that whatever comes their way, they'll be able to find resources, and Jan will be able to create what they need. So that's his role. The base
building reminds me of XCOM.
Yeah, it's got a similar.
It's not the same, but
but it's got a very similar. Like, you need this thing, so you build it, but it's a little bit more, I think, modular than that.
Literally, yeah.
So but anyway, the mission crashes. And spoiler alert, everybody dies except Jan. So you're the only survivor from the crew, and you've got to run this entire base on your own. You've got to survive on your own. There's a problem on the planet where the sun has a weird kind of it's got like a weird solar what's the word?
Well, you're going to get burnt to a crisp if you don't move soon,
yeah, basically. If the sun rises, it will burn you to death. So essentially you have to outrun the sun. So you get to a point on the planet where you've got to now wait for the sunrise to catch you again. It's very strange.
It's a very jolly game as well, as you can tell.
Oh Christ, yeah. So But anyway, so in order to survive, you can't run it on your own, but you happen to be on a planet. The material, the mineral that you've been, the fuel that you've been sent to get, the substance, is called rapidium, and it is kind of it's an unobtainium. It's a special,
it's a funny name as well.
It's a sci-fi MacGuffin. Yeah. It's a magic paste that can do anything the plot needs it to do. Essentially, that's what rapidium is, and we accept that. That's but the one thing it can do that's really important is it can allow you to clone copies of yarn. So if you clone a copy of yarn as it is, it's just going to be an inert body on a slab. It won't be able to do anything. But luckily, for reasons that are discovered later,
corporations are involved.
Yeah, the ship has a quantum computer. And what the quantum computer does is it kind of doesn't make sense why it's there until the end, but there's a reason it's there. The quantum computer has a way of mapping your past. So the entire crew is mapped into this quantum computer, and the quantum computer knows every major core memory of their life. And a core memory is defined as somewhere where you made an important choice, like leave home, go to med school, get married, these core choices. So what the quantum computer is able to do is it's able to start at Jan's sort of birth, and then it goes through his life, hits a choice, and then it's able to simulate a life path that he didn't take. So Jan is a builder, but it's able to simulate a life path where, for example, Jan became a technician or Jan became a scientist. Now, it's then able to copy that life path and implant it into the clone, which creates an alter. So that's how you get the alters. So not only are they clones that, for some reason, are created with different clothes and facial hair. I
actually love that, though.
Which I really like. The
botanist looks like he's a sort of hippie kind of version of Jan.
Yeah,
I love that and the scientist wears glasses with a white coat.
The guard's got like a shaved head and a big beard, and so, and the shrink's got little got these little shades and like a beanie hat, and it's like where's the womb getting it? But it doesn't matter. Yeah. It creates these. So it creates these. I think you probably should
explain that bit, because you just suddenly referred to the womb, and that's what the room's called. Where the
so that's the womb is where you grow clones, right? But yeah, so it takes a night, 7 hours to grow a clone. Once you've grown the clone, it implants the quantum. It's actually a very cheap thing to do in the game. They don't block it behind resources. It wants you to create. Now, there's a possible 10 alters you can make, but you can only create 6 per playthrough. You can't make any more. You don't. Even if you upgrade the quantum computer, which you can do through the game, you can only ever make 6 different yarns. And one of them you can only create by accident without any further spoilers. Yeah. But so you've got these different alters, and then they've
doesn't
all
involve
got...
Dolly the sheep, does it? And that kind of accident? Because
not quite.
Because
But I did a guide to it though. So basically,
that's what I didn't know what that was, because I haven't got that far, and I'm like, I don't know what this. I get it now. Okay.
So every yarn is so yarn's a genius, right? The yarn that you play is not a genius because of the life choices he took, right? He didn't go to university. He didn't do all these things. He's a very average Joe. But the other yarns that the quantum computer creates, they're kind of like the top minds in their field. Like they're all really, really good at what they do. Every one of them is kind of an expert in what they do. Like there's a scientist who's
dicks though, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Like the scientist is a dick. I tell you what's weird though, right? Is that so the idea is that you create these yarns, and eventually you'll have 6. You won't be able to create 6 at once. You have to upgrade your thing, so you can create 2. Then you get an upgrade, you can create 4. Then you get another upgrade, you can have 6. Now it's up to you who you create after the first one. The first one is set. It'll always be the technician. That's story based, right? You create the technician.
Dick.
I really liked him, and then he's a dick, and then I really liked him again. So he does have these kind of ebbs and flows of personality. He has the biggest arc out of all the alters, which is understandable because he is the first. I feel like
I've just turned a corner with him, where I've gone from being like, God Almighty, this guy's a dick, to being like, oh, do you know what?
The technician is this.
We played beer pong, if I'm honest with you, and got leathered, and like I'm like, you know what?
Yeah, he's all right when you play beer pong with him. Yeah. Wait till you upset him later.
But, oh yeah, well I don't think that would be difficult. But like the beer pong thing, I wasn't expecting to be a full fucking mini game of beer pong. I thought it'd be a cutscene.
There's a lot of stuff I wasn't expecting it. Like you can watch movies with them, and they're like actual like 6-minute little skits by these comedian duo called Chris and Jack. Some of them are fucking excellent, like really good. I watched 1 or 2 of them a couple of times. But so anyway, because you've got to go out into the world and you've got to find. So every time you move, you're in a new area, you've got to go find resources again. So you go out into the world, you've got to build mining outposts so you can get the resources. There's 4 main resources to bring back to the ship, and you use these to create, like, obviously food. The altars want you to create modules for them, so you need to give them a dormitory to sleep in. You can build an infirmary, a gym, things
that is
like
an
that.
early bit, that dormitory bit, and it was quite. It sort of shows you how smart of a game it is, because you've made this. First of all, you make a clone of a sheep, and then you're like, okay, and then it's like you need to clone yourself. Now we know the tech works, and you make the technician, and it takes a few days until all of a sudden he's really grumpy, even for him, and you're like, what's the problem? He goes, well, I can't fucking sleep. And you're like, well, why
I'm on
not?
the floor in the kitchen.
The floor's not particularly comfortable while you're in your fucking bed, mate. You're like,
you get the captain's bed,
absolutely a fair point. I've got a really nice. It very much reminds me of Shepard's bedroom, that captain's. From Mass Effect. And he's like, yeah, it's not really comfortable floor. Could you make a dormitory or something? And you're like, do you know what? Actually, fair enough. You are literally there now. You can walk in every bit of this base even before you expand it, and you're like, yeah, he is okay. And then he's a little bit probably got his back probably doesn't hurt quite as much from the bed, but you're like, I don't think that a lot of their requests are actually super unreasonable. They are a bit sometimes a bit like flighty, but.
Well, they're all kind of, because they're all different from you. So, like the refiner in his, so it's really clever how it does things. It's got a lot of existential stuff. These alters believe they're real people. Like the simulation that the quantum computer creates and implanted on them, to them, it really happened. There's no question. Like they have these memories that are real because the quantum computer has created this simulated life path for them. At one point, one of them asks you if you can find out if his partner was a real person or not, or if it's imagined, which I wasn't able to do because the dick on earth that I was talking to wouldn't give me the information. And I don't know if there must be a way to make him do that, but I don't know what it is.
Which alter was asking you? Because if it's
it was the refiner.
Okay, so I have had the opposite of that. So yeah, that's interesting. Because
there's
purely in a
two I never
conversation
built.
slip.
Yeah, there's two I never created because I did two because I lost a lot of progress. I went back several days of game, and I thought because I've gone back, I'll create 2 different alters. So I actually saw 8 in my playthrough, but the ones I didn't see were the miner or the botanist, and I know you did see both of those because you had a lot of fun with the miner, didn't you? Which is I don't want to say anything that spoils it, but I know you had
because I think it's important to say that like this is a phenomenal video game that plays brilliantly. Like the combination of the base building, the resource management, and I actually really just enjoy the third personing out in the world. Which again, every part of this game has a little more depth than you expect. Like you are exploring at the very start of the game and doing mining, but then you get like a tool that lets you interact with other things. I'll just say that, and like a grapple you can upgrade, and there's a whole science like upgrade path if you get on your and
loads of research points.
But it also is worth saying that while there is this phenomenal game that's really well written, also want to shout out how terrifically acted it is, because I assume it's the same voice actor.
It's the same voice actor for all of it, and he's fantastic.
It's really clever, and there were some really stand-up moments. It is worth saying, I don't know that. There was very much there are choices in this game. Let's say that you might think you are doing the right thing. So I don't want to spoil much, but I think if I use this one example, it will give a good example of what this game can be, because it is also at times fucking bleak. And so one of the miner in his world lost an arm. In his world, in his he doesn't
life
exist.
Path.
In parallel life, Jan became a miner and he loses an arm, and it obviously impacts his life quite a lot. When he's born in the womb in this game, he has an arm,
because they're all copies of Jan, which none of them are happy about.
No,
they lose tattoos. One of them's skinny, even though he was buff.
Yes, exactly that. So he has an arm, and that's obviously the first clue as to like, that wasn't there. What's going on? He has phantom pain but he has phantom pain because his arm is there. Like and so he's like wanting prescription painkillers and stuff, and that is a choice you, as the main Jan, because he's like the captain, has to make. And I really wasn't sure, and I still don't know what happens if you go the other way. But my feeling is that you want to help him, and the best way to help someone is to not give them meds that are going to fuck them up. Now, if you really don't want to know the path out, just skip on your podcast app like 60 seconds or whatever. At some point, because you don't give him those meds, and again, I thought I was doing the right thing, like the moral right thing. Ultimately, it would help him, because in most games, he'd get over it. You'd help each other through it. No. In this game, he cuts his arm off in the dormitory. And for me, and I believe you can still stop this, died because of it. And once he's gone, he's gone. And in the meantime, there's like a discussion going on, like, well, the scientist says I can make him a false arm, like a mechanical arm. And you're like, okay. And then he won't have that pain, but it will allow him to continue his life with two arms, but not the... And then one of the other... Just as you've almost made that arm, thinking you're doing the right thing again, someone else in the altars, I forget who it was this time, I think it was a technician, said to me, well... You've got Rapidium that can clone, DNA stuff. Wouldn't it be a lot better for him if you just cloned an arm for him? And you're like, yeah, okay, fair enough. So you sort of like got two choices within a choice, and then before I had a chance, I realised I hadn't built a medibay anywhere, which is a thing you can build. So he died from having no arm and no one to treat his arm. There was no doctor. And then there's like, from then on, and I will stop because it's like I said, 60 seconds. There's wakes, there's all sorts of fucking stuff goes on, and you're like, this game's bleak.
Yeah, it gets, and it does this thing where it kind of, I said it in the review, I kind of feel like sometimes it delights in making you feel bad. Like, and I don't mean that in a as negative way as it sounds, but it doesn't want you to ever feel like, so the first act is kind of like the happy act, right? The first act is, the first act is when you can get a few wins and things start to go right. And I think there are points in Act 2 where you're like, yeah, this really worked. This has worked. But then a lot of the times, like, it'll give you a choice. And I've not agonized over choices. And I'm not saying that this game has got the best choices ever out of any game. But because of the way it does it, because you are responsible for all these guys, and because they constantly remind you that you created them to be tools, and they're not fucking happy about that, like, at all. The technician is really upset about the fact that you basically just made him because you needed someone to help you survive. And there's a lot of conversation throughout the game, and a lot of plot points as well that deal with the fact that they are clones and you're not allowed to have them. Like what Jan's doing, it's made very clear by his employers and the game that is illegal, and he shouldn't be doing it. And like, you got all this stuff that's kind of going on, and you can't seem to really make a decision that ever pleases everyone. I don't think it's possible.
It's the lack of binary
that.
Choice, I think. Like you know, in our heads, I think where we're playing video games, where like almost like the Paragon and Renegade of Mass Effect. Because even though those games are phenomenal and we love them dearly, it was very much, here's the choice if you want to be a goodie, here's the choice if you want to be a badass or a baddie. Whereas in this, like I say, I genuinely thought I was choosing the Paragon option. I thought I was doing the right thing, and it's like the game just slapped me down. It's like, life's not like that, son. There's no right or wrong here. You're going to make choices and they'll affect one thing and another thing, and that's kind of life. But we're not, I don't think we've got to the point where games are doing that, and that's what makes this so,
I think that's what I like within most.
That I'm like, well, what, you're giving me another fucking grey choice here after I've already made a grey choice that I thought was right and it's wrong. It's so clever.
I think that's what I like most, because there's a central point in it, which I won't go into detail on at all, but there's a central conflict which occurs at the beginning of Act 2, which really took me by surprise. And when it happened, I thought, I probably should have seen that coming, but it really took me by surprise when it happened. And I played through the scenario of coming up with a solution 2 or 3 times, because no matter what I did, I upset a couple of the altars, and no matter which choice I made, one of them I couldn't avoid upsetting. No matter which choice I made or how I tried to do it or how much I involved him, I couldn't stop what came next. But some of them, different things, caused different altars to side with me or side with the other guy. And like, a lot of it really was like, did I do the right thing then? Because I felt like I did the right thing. And I think I was so the choice I made, I'm not going to tell you which choice it was or even what the conundrum was. Yeah. But when I reached the end, it was justified. That's why I felt the ending was good, because I reached the end and I went, oh, holy shit, that choice I made 20 hours of gameplay ago has ensured as close to a happy ending as I think the game will allow you to have. And so I got a good ending.
Reminds me of the Banishers a bit. Of Banishers,
yeah,
the
because
choices are
it wasn't
neither
a happy,
good or bad; they're grey.
Yeah, and it wasn't. It's like that as well because it wasn't a happy ending for everybody involved, but it was as close as I could get to one, and it felt like a climax, felt like an ending.
So what you're saying, if I may just guess here, is that the Autos is essentially an allegory for real life.
Kind of, yeah.
No matter what you do, you will piss off someone and make others happy, and no choice is ever good or bad.
It's the closest I think to, and again, this sounds like hyperbole, and there's limits to what I'm saying. So these aren't thinking. It's not AI or anything, but it kind of felt like the closest I got in a game to have it. Because when you play a game like, I don't know, like a Dragon Age or something where there's a lot of choices, and the choices are kind of binary. One's bad, one's good. You're going to upset this guy or that guy or this girl or that girl. You're going to upset somebody and not the other person, and it's very binary. So you basically go, well, I like you better because you're better in a fight, or I'm going to romance you, so I'll go with you, and that's your choices. And because there's none of that in this, like there's no romance options, you don't have to take people out in parties, so you're not automatically leaning. And no matter who you piss off, they will always do their duties. So you'll never have somebody who's like, I'm not fucking repairing the ship for it. They won't do that because it's not in their interest. So you can upset them. And so because the game takes that element of it away, it really does come down to what you think is morally right and which is the moral choice. Because normally games don't do that. Even the Paragon Renegade stuff in Mass Effect, I'm going for a Paragon run through. So I'm just going to... And this doesn't do that. There's no Paragon Renegade slider. There's no way. It doesn't record the good, bad choices you've made. It doesn't do that. So it's the closest I think I've got to interacting with people, because you don't know what these fuckers are going to do. And when you do upset them, you go out of your mind trying to make it up to them. You try and do everything. You bring them gifts. You build modules they want. You try and talk to them. And there was one character in particular that went it locked his dialogue. So I couldn't. When I spoke to him, it said, this halter's not in the mood to talk, but he had something to say, and I had a gift for him and I couldn't give him it, and I had to work on it with the shrink and this other altar. Eventually he let me talk to him, but one of them, no matter what I did for the entire game, I couldn't make friends with him again. And it was like, I'd walk into a room and he'd leave the room. When I did movie night, he wasn't there, and it was stuff like that really, and I was like, where is he? I'm trying to make friends because I made a mistake.
How do I reach this man?
It does make you feel really bad for being like a human being. But yeah, I think we've probably talked about it for a long time.
We have, but like, it's in Game Pass on PC and Xbox, and it is one of the most interesting and different games you will ever play. And I really hope people try it. Just give it a try. But it is interesting that there is no romance or anything. They've taken all that stuff out.
Yeah. But it does have, I will say.
No, Mick, no, my segue just roared off into the...
No, I forget what I was going to say. I want your segue. You worked hard on these.
It was perfect. You can't date anything in the Altars, Lyle. You see, but you can date everything and date everything. You see,
I hope so. With a title like that, yeah, I'd be disappointed if you couldn't.
I think Mick would like this game. I know it's a romance game.
I kind of think so too, because it's sort of.
Lyle always sells me on games weirdly. He sold me on 100 Line Academy or whatever it's called.
No, this is different.
I mean, this is different. This is different to anything. So
yeah, that's true.
I've played a lot of dating games. It's sort of what I do. I don't really know when it happened, but it happened.
Just somehow happened.
It's just sort of it happened, yeah. But yeah, I play a lot of dating games, and usually they're like visual novels where you'll have a few characters and you'll just like pick an option, and it'll mean that this hunky man wants to romance you and not this hunky man. And it's all well and good. There's plenty of really good ones, but Date Everything is not
life,
that. Yeah, of course. But yeah, in Date Everything is very much not that. In Date Everything, you work for like a evil megacorp that fires you pretty much immediately after you get the job because like a chatbot takes over your role in customer service. So because you're like a disgruntled employee, this mystery character who's you only know as Tinfoil Hat, he gets in touch and is like, I'm sending you a package, open the door, check out this package. Once you've opened it, you can't leave the house again. And in the package...
And tell no one as well, I think, isn't it?
And tell no one, which you don't follow, but that's fine. But in this package, you get... There are a pair of glasses, a pair of Dateviator glasses. And what these Dateviator glasses do is any object that you like focus them on and shoot their beams of love out from, it will turn that object into like a humanoid figure that you can romance, basically. So
this is not problematic at all.
No, it's totally fine. It's normal.
It's
But you walk around the house and every object in your house, it's like you walk around in like this 3D. It's not a big house, but there's it's a lived-in house, so there's enough objects, and there are 100 dateable characters in the house, corresponding to 100 different objects, and they're ridiculous.
Yep.
So I have a question. So
I'm sure you do. I have many.
I do, yeah. So obviously you can date everything, which is that otherwise. So when you use these Dateviator glasses, that object becomes does it become like a person?
Yeah, it becomes a person, usually sort of dressed as the object.
Yes. Like
oh my god!
The Hoover,
okay.
the Hoover is reflected upon, like he's wearing like he's a Hoover, but a man.
Yeah.
Look, I have a friend here who just wants to know.
Yes.
So I'm asking for my friend.
Yes, you can fuck the Hoover. If that's the question.
I was asking if is it a horny game? Is this a horny game?
God, it's horny.
It's quite a horny game, yeah.
Yes, you can download it later. Stop asking. I've asked the question. Sorry.
I'm worried that Lyle said
if you see that in my library, it was him. Okay?
I'm just worried that he said it's quite horny, whereas I found it to be very fucking horny.
There's levels.
I play a lot of. Not only do I play a lot of these games, but as well as each character being like, you can get them to love you. There are 3 options.
Yes,
you can go. You can aim for love, you can aim for friendship, or you can aim for hatred. And all of these have their own distinct endings. Yeah. And you can just
some
sort of
are happy endings, and
some are not happy endings, and some are just all the endings are catered for.
Look, come on, who was your first?
Who was my first?
Mine was the bed.
Yeah,
it makes sense. I mean,
Betty Bed
choice, isn't it?
Betty the bed, yeah, Betty the bed.
Well, you date the object. Do you have to take the date to I was going to say completion then, but what I mean is like
yes, you do, yeah.
And then what? You can just date something else. Can you date multiple things at once? Does the stapler get jealous of the pot plant?
Yeah, some do, don't they? Some are like. Or are they all? I can't remember. Like I know Betty is like, it's fine, sleep with who you want as long as we're in love. And it's like, okay then.
Yeah, that's generally that's the consensus because there are 100 of them, and juggling them otherwise wouldn't make much sense. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
But yeah, you basically have like you can do 5 dates a day. It doesn't really matter. Which like there's not really a time pressure or anything that you have to worry about, but like the time of day sort of matters. Like the box of Christmas decorations likes to be talked to in the morning, where
of course
the alarm clock has specific times he'll speak to, doesn't he? The cat the
cat alarm clock, that's specific times, and the characters are just it's actually really clever how they've done the characters, because there's I mentioned in the review there's like a character that is your floor, and she's the secretary for the mayor, who is the ceiling. And the mayor is the ceiling is the mayor because like it's sort of like above everyone else, and the secretary, who's the floor, always gets walked all over by everyone. And then you might chat to one of my favorites. My favorite dateables was the curtains, because the curtains are actually 2 people but sort of count as one. That happens a few times, and the curtains are called Kurt and Rod, and all they do is bitch about people because they cast shade. That's what curtains do, Like it's stupid.
The window is similar. I can't remember what her bloody name is. What's the window?
Is this a Western game?
I think so.
I think so. Yeah, I'm pretty sure
it plays. I mean, that sounds a weird thing. It plays very Western.
It's
got so many Western references.
And not even just because it's. I just kind of
funny.
It sounds
it's
really
funny.
Interesting and funny.
It's really funny.
I assume you met the shower.
Yeah.
I mean, the shower.
You gave it a really good score, right?
It's
you gave
really
it like
good.
9 out of 10.
Yeah.
I had 2 9 out of 10s go out at pretty much the same time as this and Mario Kart World, and I think that I like Date Everything more, which is a stupid.
I think I do too, if I'm honest.
Well, Mario Kart was a known entity, wasn't
it? Well, they're very different, yeah. But like the fact there's a shower that basically is Elvis, and he sings and talks like Elvis. He's literally doing that. That's his voice. He's like, my papa. And you even say something like, well, what is your dad? Is he like the shower pipe or what? Like, what? It's very fucking witty. It's very witty.
Oh, I think this sounds really fun.
It's just a blast. Like you never tire of dating new
there's
objects.
There's a lot of pun work, but it's also clever with it. Like the reason I mentioned the window pane one is because she's like, I'm not really interested in a relationship, but she wasn't with me anyway. And she's like, because people are just always looking through me, and you almost want boom. But she's like, and for that, it'd be nice for me to look at other people for a change. And it's like, yeah, okay, cool. Like,
And like, and as much as it's sort of like, it's quite you don't have to really put too much like effort into the game, I suppose. Like, it's not like you don't have to, like, it's not this like mulling
quite
over
casual.
Choices and all these different things. Yeah, it's quite casual. There are still some dateable objects that are like really well hidden, so like not just like necessarily like it's a small thing, but like if you have a certain screen open and because they've mentioned that the chat window is something that you can date, like the element of the UI of the chat window, and there's one menu option that if you press it, the chat window sort of stays up in the center of the screen. So if you hold the normal heart ray gun date button down, you'll just suddenly start dating the text box, and the text box will chat to you and
that's
and
very
say,
clever. Like that's quite cool. Yeah,
it does. And there's a lot of little things like that. There's a lot of them where it's like you can tell they've put a lot of effort into this. You can tell that they've like been trying to think of little Easter eggs for you to find, and like having 100 dateable objects sounds like it's this like, oh yeah, it's this silly game where they've had to do like, no, they have 100 like fully dateable, fully voice acted by like really top quality voice actors, like who are all with really funny writing, all completely different and from each other. Like it's really impressive the amount of effort that's gone into such a stupid game.
Pro tip for
I
me,
like that though.
Pro tip for me, investigate the drawer next to your bed. That's one thing I would suggest you do.
Yeah, that's a good one. But there's so many little secrets.
Yeah, there's a lot going on in this. Like, everything you think, can I? Yeah, I can. Like the toilet. I don't want to say too many more because like at some point it's you're spoiling things. Like there's so much work gone into the voice acting. Like again, don't forget to check the toilet. That's one thing I would say because that's certainly a moment.
The toilet's a very good one.
But like at some point we have to stop because
we do. Yeah,
character of the year, isn't it? We're just listing them off. It is. But
you could do a top 10 dateable characters and just have it be its own episode of a podcast.
But the thing is, yeah.
Have we got this on PC? Is this on PC?
Yeah, we can.
Yeah.
But this is
deck. Does it go on deck?
Yeah, I've played it on deck. Yeah, but you could go on forever. Listing characters like eternally, couldn't you? You could just eternally list those characters and talk about them. And speaking of eternity, that's the worst. That's pretty weak. I'll be honest with you.
Mr. Segway.
It's pretty weak, that one. Lost in Random, The Eternal Die. We were probably going to chat about this for too long, but I wanted to shout it out, and I know you did, Lyle, because it's really, really good. And I know people will see Lost in Random and be like, and I've actually seen comments on the game that are like, but the original was so different. Like, what a shame. No, that it's the gameplay of this is exemplary, isn't it, Lyle? Like the combat.
It is, yeah. It's because basically it is a Hades like we're not gonna like beat about the bush. It's one of those Hades style roguelikes that we are becoming popular because Hades was very popular, because Hades is very good. But this is like it done really, really well, like Hades level well in terms of how it feels to play, and it has lots of like cool ideas as well. Like, I mean, even just like the fact that you're playing as the villain from the first game and sort of learning about who she is, but you don't necessarily need to, have played the first game or know that, but it's just this sort of like interesting choice. But then in terms of like the actual gameplay, because it's a game called Lost in Random, them changing to a roguelike does feel, it feels right, like if you've got random in the name, you might as well. But it has like a lot of different upgrade sort of systems that are really clever. Like when you pick up, like you'll get sort of relics in any roguelike where they'll do some sort of passive thing of that you deal more damage in if you're like under a certain amount of health or all sorts of other things. But in Lost in Random, they all have like different like colors on them, and you arrange them in a grid in your inventory. And if you line up colors that are all the same, it'll give you like a big stat boost to whatever that color corresponds to. So it'll be like melee damage or like these magic card attack damage and all these other different things. You also so there's like a few different starting weapons that you can pick from, and you can sort of upgrade in various ways. But alongside that, you have your dice like sidekick, who is called Fortune. Yes, I was sort of rambling until Fortune came back into my head, but I got it.
But I couldn't help you because I was like, "Is he called Dicey? No, that wouldn't be." Right.
Yeah, Fortune, Fortune is a weapon who basically by pressing, I think it's like the B button by default, you just sort of throw this dice and it'll land at an enemy and it'll deal damage to them. But it deals damage based on what number you roll because it's a dice. So, and then you'll find relics that are like, if you roll a 6, your next physical attack will be a definite critical hit, or some like icicles will rain down, all these different like effects. But like, yeah, sort of the star of the show is probably just like the combat is so crisp and amazing, and like it's got like, you've got a dash that leaves you invincible because of course you do, and it just feels so it just feels perfect to play. It's a game that I did not like. It was a game that I had while also playing the Switch, and it's a game that the Switch 2, which was the new shiny thing, and it was a game that like, it was still holding my attention in that period of time, like it was doing a good job.
It's interesting that you say it's a Hades like, but it's done really well, because there's loads now like Hades like.
That's my fear for it.
There's so many, and the thing about them is that none of them are as good as Hades. Like none of them yet, and there's some good ones. Like I really like Realm of Ink and Redacted. Just the two that pop straight into my head, which I really quite enjoy.
What's the one that the Dead Cells teams make? It's not finished yet. But
the one.
Yes, that's in early access still, right?
Also really, that's really also very, very good. Yeah. And like, there's a lot of them, but the ones that I think that are really, really Hades like there's one called Sworn where you're like, you like King Arthur and the Knights, and then the Realm of Ink is very Hades. But it's interesting that you say how good. Like that you said, it's like Hades level, like it's really crisp and really, really well executed. Because when something hits the high, when something hits the big time and everybody wants to do it, you often find that you get this big string of imitators, and you're just waiting for one finally to get somewhere near the crowd.
I would say two things I think that really make it stand out for me is, one, it has difficulty options, which, look, I'm sorry, I'll be that guy. It's nice to have that choice. This is not an easy game. It's not an easy game. It really isn't. And I know they're built and they're designed for you to be like going run after run after run. But some people after a while are like, just like, I've hit a skill ceiling. It's nice to have an option. I think that's a great thing. The other thing I would say, and I'm probably going to piss people off, maybe even you two, because I know you both love Hades. The reason I brought up earlier on about how like, people are upset because there's this game. I was one of those people who thought Lost in Random was a really good game, but it didn't quite. It actually was let down by the action part, like the world, the visuals, beautiful, love it, but the actual playing of it wasn't quite there. So while I was hoping for, say, a Lost in Random 2 to sort of Assassin's Creed to it, like Assassin's Creed to it, I was thinking, where it would take out, get the criticisms, bang, superb, brilliant game we all loved. What this does while going towards Hades, it still is that world, it still is that artwork, and I really like that artwork. So I think. Might as well say it. I think I prefer this to Hades because of that. I don't even think this is as built out in terms of gameplay as Hades. Maybe
I think that's a fair thing to say, because I do think like it doesn't feel like for a roguelike, it doesn't feel like there are loads and loads of different random options that you'll see on every run. Like it won't take long for you to see the same of certain pickups. I mean, every run is you go through 4 like different themed floors of like a dungeon, and there's always the same boss at the end of each floor and stuff like that. So like it's not not one of those roguelikes where every time you play it, it's like it couldn't be more different. It's a game where it's more about, you keep going on more and more runs, you get better, you also can upgrade yourself between runs in a whole number of ways that will really improve you, and then, eventually you'll beat it. It feels like the goal is more you're on this mission to beat through this ever-changing, but like still pretty much the same difficulty level and the same sort of like things that you're expected to use on the way, Like it's not something where, like, if you play it, for people who have played a lot of Hades, they'll have played like hundreds and hundreds of hours. And I don't think, I mean, there are like extra difficulty levels once you've beaten the game and stuff like that. But I don't think that Lost in Random, The Eternal Die is like one of those games where those hardcore roguelike extremists will play like for the rest of their lives. The ones who are still playing Binding of Isaac.
Yeah. I will say, I think all three of the games we've mainly discussed this week that we've played, The Altars, Day Everything, Lost in Random, The Eternal Die, are all games I feel a little bit sorry for timing-wise. I know we've said it before. I mean, when is a good time to release a video game now? Like The Altars has been coming forever. I think there's some hype behind it. Day Everything, I think there's a bit. I think there's a bit. Lost in Random, like they've done everything they can to get it out there. There's demos and stuff. I do worry for some games like this and the thing is I think, did you give Lost in Random a 9 as well? I think you did.
Yeah.
I think it's 999.
These games are like fucking brilliant games. Although that does lead rather nicely into the question of the week, actually, which is from Politica on Discord. Yeah, I had to go up a bit because that last one was poor. He says, now we've got a pretty good idea of what's coming for the rest of 2025. What are each of your most anticipated games?
Just one?
Well, it just says games. So I thought if I read through the list on lootlevelchill.com, just quickly looking at July, the only one I can think that is new is Grounded 2's preview program. I think after that, we are into August, where Sword of the Sea has been announced. Dying Light the Beast has been announced. We're into September then. You got Hell Is Us, Baby Steps, Borderlands, Marathon, which I had to check. That is still, I thought that had been like delayed.
No, it's still coming.
It is still coming. Silent Hill F is now September 25th. Sonic Racing Crossworlds, which is a game I really do want to try because I have some very curious questions about that, is September 25th. Final Fantasy Tactics that we talked about last episode is September. What else was new? I mean, Pokemon Legends is October. That game Keeper from Double Fine is October 17th. Yeah. Jurassic World Evolution was announced. Ninja Gaiden 4 is October. The Outer Worlds 2 is October. Ark Raiders, which I confess I don't know a lot about, but I believe it's a big deal in terms of the Ark community. Mina the Hollower, we now know is dated. Cairn. Not to mention Metroid Prime.
Ghost of Yotei is still there to come.
Felt that boxing, I think, was
something else was announced for. There's still Lost Soul Aside. There was something announced for October recently, dated, and I can't remember what it was off the top of my head.
October. It's not Directive 8020. Was that always known?
I think that was always.
Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD 2D remake is October. I mean, there's a lot to. I'd be honest. I'm still. I think if I was going to list one right now, I think it's still Donkey Kong Bonanza for me. I think, although maybe Metroid Prime, and that's. I'll be honest with you. All right, I'm going to go for one that's like a bit left wing, kind of like you maybe wouldn't think it would be one we pick. Shadow Labyrinth. I love Metroid Metroid Primeers. I love Metroidvanias. I love Pac-Man, and it looks like a weird sort of dark, evil shadow. It's Shadow Labyrinth.
It does look quite cool, yeah.
I don't think that's one people list. I think that looks really fucking interesting. So I'm going to go for that for some reason because it's less obvious.
It had a really cool trailer recently as well, where it showed more of the Pac-Man side of it, which again I wasn't really expecting to look that way, and was like, "Oh, that's fucking cool!" Like that's a really interesting looking game.
Hang on, what if we do this? What if you do one remake or re-release or reimagining, and one new game? So I'm going to go Shadow Labyrinth, and I'm going to go, maybe controversially, Metal Gear Solid Delta.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will go for the obvious one for me is Ghost of Yotei, but it's kind of too like.
That's why I didn't want to just go for Donkey Kong because it's like I think everyone knows.
I think officially that's probably the game I'm most looking forward to this year because it's Ghost of Tsushima was so amazing, but I think I could say Borderlands 4, but I think I really, really, really want to play Eric's Home.
I wondered if that would, because now we know that's
Like,
coming.
I think that's the one that, since I played the preview, I'm really, really looking forward to that. But also, kind of hell is us, because that demo's really, really good and
you
really
mentioned this to me, and
surprised me.
it's put me off downloading it, not because it sounds bad, but because I don't want to play it and be
It's
like, oh.
not a Souls-like, which is what it looks like and what
No, but
I
if it's as
thought
good
it
as I'm
is.
hearing, it's a long wait, because that's September
It
4th.
plays like a Souls-like, but without any of the Souls-like bullshit at all. If that makes sense.
See,
like,
that's really funny to me, because you're just describing Devil May Cry. You're just describing Bayonetta, an action-adventure character action game that isn't...
Well, it's not just that. It
difficult.
moves. If you look at it, it looks like a Souls-like. You know how the character moves? The character's got weight. You've got the same kind of run, the same kind of dodge, the same kind of attacks. It's exactly like a Souls-like, but it doesn't have any of the crap. And enemies don't respawn when you save. You don't have limited heals. It's not ridiculously difficult. You've got this real good. There's difficulty settings for a start. So really looking forward to that. But remake or re-release is pretty obvious which one I'm looking forward to most. Which is
what am I forgetting?
Years of War.
Oh yeah, I thought about it, but like
on a PlayStation.
I know that is weird. If I literally gone Donkey Kong and Gears, it's like, all right, mate, we know, so I couldn't. Okay, no, that's fair enough. Do you know what? Before I ask you, Lara, I know you won't pick it. I am surprised no one's given a shout to Dying Light the Beast, because from what they've been saying, that is basically Dying Light 3, and apparently they've been quoted as saying they've learnt from 2 in that they know it was a bit too dark and bleak, and they've come back up toward the fun. So I'm like, actually,
I dropped off 2. That's why I'm a little bit tentative about the Beast, because I lost the plot a bit with 2.
Yeah, but if they're saying
I loved 1 a lot,
that's what I mean. So if they've said that they've accepted that 1 was here, 2 was down a bit, and they want to come, okay, I'm absolutely here for that. I mean, I will drop kick zombies all day, quite frankly.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, Lyle, your choices.
Okay, so I'll start with remake re-release, because
this is the one I want to know, because there's 2 I could imagine.
Yeah, for me, I think we talked about it last week, so it's a bit getting back into, very recently trodden ground, but Final Fantasy Tactics, I just think I'm really excited to play through that game, because, like I say, I never got all the way through it because it was hard as balls, and I was only little. I was only a little boy, so I could deal with that shit.
I thought you wouldn't pick Dragon Quest, although I know you're massively looking forward to that. But at the moment, like right now, I can speak personally that Bravely Default's scratching that itch of that sort of game.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to wait till October. Do you know what I mean? There's no rush.
Yeah, definitely. Bravely Default is a couple of weeks ago, Bravely Default could have been the game that I picked for that, really, to be honest, and I would have done a good job picking it, because it's fucking great. And for overall, again, I'm not going to pick something that's like a big heavy hitter, because I like that we're trying to shout out the slightly less. But I probably would have.
We're all going to play these big heavy hitters. We all are looking forward to them, and we all hope they'll be amazing. So it's a brilliant chance to say, here's something I hope. Yeah, so I think that's fair.
But, again, if we're going to sort of mention them in passing quickly and then talk about something else, I'll say for me, it'd be Pokemon Legends ZA, because I think, as I've heard more people talking about how much they're enjoying Pokemon Scarlet and Violet now, because it has been, those technical issues have been, washed away for the most part with the Switch 2 version. I'm ready for, I didn't really need more hype for more Pokemon, but it's happened, and that means that I'm very, very excited for that. And yeah, that's going to be a big game for me. But the game I'm going to pick is The Nightling, because The Nightling is a bloody brilliant 3D platformer that I have played 2 or 3 demo builds of at this point.
I was thinking they're like,
I don't know what this is.
No, I was thinking that, and I was thinking Nightling, like NIGHT, not like Knight, Sword and Shield Knight. And then when I figured that out, I was like, oh, that game.
Okay.
Wow, okay.
So you're this tiny little knight in training with a massive shield, and you can surf around on it, and it's got these perfect PS2 era platformer, but modernized vibes. And every time I've played builds of it, it's just been an absolute delight, and it's one that I think I first played it over a year ago now. So it's been a while, and it just feels like it's going to be this really polished platforming experience. And, I'm never going to say no to another platformer, am I?
I do want to shout out 2 more that have just come to my mind. One, I do still genuinely, for all my, I really want to play Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2, but as further we get along in the year, the more I'm like... And the other one I want to mention, I don't know for 100% sure it is this year. I'm there for Lumines Arise. Like,
oh, really?
Like, are you not a fan of Lumines?
I liked it well enough, but it was never a puzzle game that captured me as much as. Like,
I never understood it.
Okay,
but not at all, and I'm shit at it. But it's the Tetris Effect, guys. So and that's like enough for me, like, because that is magic.
Sounds good.
You know, well, there you go. That's a podcast after a bumper 2-hour last week. It's still a load more games, and there's still more to come. I mean, there's still Switch 2 stuff that we've really barely scratched the surface of and talked about. Like, you know, Kieran and I are playing Split Fiction, and I can really happily report that game's really surprising on a Switch 2. Like, you're like, every time you think, well, it's getting a struck. No, okay, 60 frames per second. Okay, cool. But yeah, but the the texture's okay, right. Well, it won't have the audio's really, really good as well. And you're like, okay, it's one of those where if any game's made people think, is it going to be another generation of being behind on third-party ports? This is one that's made me go the opposite. Go, okay, because that is a visually arresting video game. So yeah, there's lots to talk about still, and you can make sure that you never miss that by subscribing to our YouTube at Loot Level Chill, or on iTunes, or Google Play, or whatever it's called. Google's audio, I don't know. Google Podcast is probably a thing. Is it? Anyone know? I don't know. Spotify, that's the easiest one. We should know, but we don't. Spotify's easy. But of course, the most important thing is to also go to patreon.com/lootlevelchill, where you can join our Discord, which is where you'll keep up to all things, you know, that are going on the website on lootlevelchill.com. You get early episodes of Loot Level Chat, this very podcast, and you also get extra podcasts, which we're going to record in a minute. And it's going to be a fun quiz. So if you want that, go back a couple of episodes and you'll hear what we did, which was a Patreon exclusive. And we're doing more of that for our Patreons. So, you know, thank you to Mick and thank you to Lyle. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
And we'll speak to the rest of you whenever you choose to listen, or next week, you know, whichever way you want to do it. It's all good. Bye-bye.